Winning Cures Everything. Now for your hosts, Gary and Chris.
Welcome in. It is the Wednesday, August 25th edition of the show. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And, ooh, buddy, we have got some stuff to discuss today. I am excited about it. Let's go ahead and give you the rundown. We will do it as quickly as possible. The website, winningcureseverything.com, has everything that you need to know about us. Everywhere to follow, everywhere to subscribe, etc. The YouTube page, Twitter, Twitch, podcast, whatever. Leave a nice 5-star review over on Apple Podcast. That would certainly help. Share the show out. Of course, that is the easiest way to do it. Tell everybody, just go to winningcureseverything.com. We will have the contests up and running next week. We are excited about that, trying to figure out exactly what the prizes are going to be, but you can go ahead and be safe and secure in knowing that we are going to have something good for you. So be ready to enter the Pick'em contest. Couldn't be more excited about that. We are presented by BetUS, where the game begins. You go ahead and check them out. There's a link in the description below, but that is the sportsbook that I have used for a large portion of my life, and they have always treated me right. They will treat you right. You can get a 125% deposit bonus. Use the code NCAAF2021. Very easy to do. There is a link down in the description where all you got to do is click it, and it is automatically going to take you to that site. It automatically put in the promo code. Just easy stuff. So go ahead and do that. It's up to $2,500 for the deposit, and they will match it and more. So go ahead and check that out. BetUS.com, where the game begins. And, yes, Chris and I both host college football shows. I host one for BetUS. Chris hosts one for SBR. You can find the link in the description to subscribe to both. Chris, we had an alliance announcement on Tuesday, my friend, and it was about as anticlimactic as you could possibly get. Why there was a need to announce this, I still am not sure. Do you have any idea?
Nope, no clue at all. I would love to be one of these commissioners right now, but no, I have no idea what these guys are doing.
So I wrote down notes. I took notes from the press conference, from the Zoom meeting, and the first thing, they sent out a press release. All right, sent out the press release. It includes a scheduling arrangement in football and men's and women's basketball. So that's cool, I guess. The other thing is they are going to be working together on a whole slew of topics, and I'm interested in this, I guess, because I don't know exactly what it means. They put in the statement, student-athlete mental and physical health, safety, wellness, and support, strong academic experience and support, diversity, equity, and inclusion, social justice, gender equity, future structure of the NCAA, federal legislative efforts, postseason championships, and future formats. That is what they are working together on. That is what this alliance is all about. Why wouldn't all conferences be aligned in that kind of crap anyway? Like
I don't, and I'm sure they are. That's the issue. Yeah. That's the issue. Is I'm sure they are. If you go to any of these G5 schools that are being completely left out of here, they are. The SEC totally is. You're talking about a conference that stood up to a state that has not one but two members in the state of Mississippi, and kind of tried to help strong arm bully them into removing the rebel flag. Something I didn't think would ever happen in our state. Yeah. From our state flag growing up here my entire life. So they absolutely are. They absolutely are. All of these conferences are aligned in all of these things. This is just weird. This is like kids on a playground seeing the two coolest guys in the room hanging out, being buddies, not necessarily bullying everybody else, but kind of doing their own thing and not really giving a shit about anybody else, which is more insulting than anything.
Yes.
Like I honestly think, and I've heard comedians talk about this before, that, someone once, walked up to a guy and they were like, man, I thought you hated me. And the guy just looked at him and was like, no, I don't hate you. I don't think about you at all, ever. And just walked on. It was just like, oh, I think I'd have rather been hated.
Yes.
Like You don't even acknowledge my existence. And that's why they're doing this, is they're insecure and they're scared and they're nervous and they all feel like we got to do something. Yes. Because the SEC did something.
The only thing that they are not aligned with the SEC on, I think, and even then I don't know, is the postseason championships and future formats, right? And we'll get to that here in just a minute. Before that, I want to bring up the three commissioners on the Zoom. You saw the video, right? You saw what they looked like.
God, the green screen was just so bad.
Green screens are not great anyway, but this one, I mean, it was comical with all of them.
These are all conferences that make millions and millions of dollars, and they put tens of dollars into doing this.
Yes. It's just remarkable.
I've got more money in my pocket right now than what they spent on somebody putting this together for them.
Yes. For anybody that has not seen it, if you are watching the YouTube video, I'm going to make this the thumbnail. But it is the three commissioners on a Zoom call, and all of them have the same virtual background. That is the three logos: the ACC, Big Ten, Pac-12, and it's hilarious. Like you have to see it. So go and check it out if you have not seen it. Jim Phillips was asked about expansion, and he said, "We have not made a decision where the ACC will fall." That was his comment. Kevin Warren said that he is a believer in expanding the CFP, but also we need to be methodical and do our homework. And George Kliavkoff, the commissioner of the Pac-12, said he is 100% in favor of expansion of a college football playoff. He just said that there are issues at the margins. So there's things that we need to work out. But I found all three of those answers interesting because two of them seem aligned. The ACC said, we don't really know what we're going to do yet. It's like, I thought this was an alliance. I thought this is what we were here for. And instead, the first question is, we hadn't really decided yet. Like, so right out of the gate, we're already like, okay.
And this isn't a brain buster of a question. You know this is coming up. You know college football expansion has been the playoff expansion has been in the news for the last, 8 months, 9 months. They started leaking this stuff out. How are you not prepared for that question?
I have no idea. So everybody is excited about the scheduling alliance, right? Like that's the thing everybody wants.
Woo! Northwestern, Wake Forest, here we come, baby.
There you go. Well,
and this is a guy that loves Northwestern, by the way.
Oh, of course.
But hundreds of people will watch that football game. Hundreds.
Kevin Warren said the scheduling alliance will not interfere with existing contracts. So all those games, like Ohio State, Alabama, whatever's going on in 2032, that will all still happen. So there will be no issues there. Let's see. Oh, George Kliavkoff said teams will have flexibility to schedule games versus any conference that they want. So there's an alliance to schedule with these other conferences that you are on this alliance call with, but we're not limited to that.
Yeah, if you want to go outside of that, you can.
Okay, so
if USC wants to play Notre Dame, we're not going to stop that.
Score one more for the alliance, I suppose, right? Okay.
Hang on. How's that a score? We're already agreed on what we already do.
That's what I'm saying.
We're fun. I'm about to get political here. We're fundamentally not going to change anything.
Basically, yes. And that's what the alliance is.
And we need an alliance to do that?
Apparently so. I guess we'll get to some of it here towards the end of the press conference. Jim Phillips then comes out and says he's asked about the Big 12. He said that we want and need the Big 12 to do well. The Big 12 matters in P5 athletics, in Power 5 athletics. I could not, I couldn't even deal with hearing this, right? Max Olson asked Jim Phillips afterwards to explain why the Big 12 is not a partner in the alliance. And the bottom line was it's too much uncertainty right now with that conference, basically. Now, again, towards the end of this segment, we will discuss this because it got really funny right after their press conference. I mean, because everybody went and started talking to all these other reporters, and it just became very ridiculous. It says there's a huge unsettling of the membership and where schools are going, two prominent institutions. The Big 12 has been around a lot of years and has meant a lot to college sports and college athletics. Again, as I stated, the three of us feel strongly about doing whatever we can to try to help. As far as this particular alliance, I think there's uncertainty. There's uncertainty in what's going on between two conferences. There just is. How long, when, who goes where, etc. And we felt that the three of us and the conferences that we represent and the broad-based program that we're committed to and the like-minded values that I described earlier, that we had a chance to stabilize it. And we're all hopeful that this will allow a conference like the Big 12 to figure out their path forward. So there's a lot of moving parts, but that was part of our rationale on putting together an alliance. And when we get to the other news here in a little bit, this might make a little more sense, but I did find it funny, like, if you're so worried about the Big 12, why would you not include those schools and that current conference commissioner at the table? You would not have to include Texas and Oklahoma if you don't want to. Like, you could just include those schools as part of the alliance.
Hang on now. I know exactly what this is. This is trying to talk up a 4 to a 7.
Yes.
Because you know you're about to land that 4.
That's what I'm going to get to in a little bit.
And you need so bad for people to see them as a 7.
Yes. Kliavkoff said that there is no signed contract, that they don't need a signed contract. Jim Phillips said it's about trust. We have looked each other in the eye and made it an agreement.
These poor bastards. They've been in college football for 5 minutes. Oh my God, you know what's going to happen? You know what wouldn't surprise me? In like 4 months from now, we're getting into like close to the end of the season, the off season of college football. Jim Delaney, the old college football shark that's been around forever, is going to eat all 3 of these conferences. The Big 12 is going to be the most powerful conference of them all.
That would be hilarious.
He's gonna land all of them. He's going to cut these bastards' throats. He's going to put them in a meat grinder.
Oh,
God almighty.
So ridiculous.
Oh, this is insane. This is so dumb.
Dumb. If there's no signed contract, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
Like,
hey, not only is there no signed contract, we're not doing anything. We're just 3 guys that aren't getting talked about except for we're getting made fun of.
Yes.
And so we gotta get out in front of that because we can't let people make fun of us. Well, I'm sorry. This is the day of the internet. We're gonna make fun of you.
Yes. And what you did today made it so much easier.
Wow. Yeah. ACC, your TV deal sucks, and we're going to laugh at that. Okay. We're SEC guys. We laughed at the SEC TV deal for the last 7 years. We've laughed at the SEC TV deal. All right. With CBS, like the Pac-12 can't even get started on laughing at them and the shit show that they've been for the last 5-6 years. You're just making it worse. You're just making it work. You're making a mockery of what this sport is. You really are.
Yes. Kevin Warren and Jim Phillips, the Big Ten commissioner and the ACC commissioner, both mentioned the need to stabilize college athletics because apparently everything is moving too fast right now. We got to slow it down. We got to stabilize things.
All right, now I'm an old man, and I've said this.
Yeah.
All of the change happening all the time is bothering me. I want us to get to a point. I want us to get to 12 teams. I want everybody where you're going to get aligned to get the hell aligned. And then let's sit here for a couple of years like we've had the last several years. Okay?
Yes.
That's all I want.
But we also know that the Big Ten's TV contract is coming up in 2023. We know the Pac-12's is coming up in 2025. And we know that the playoff expansion will have to happen, or the new contract will be signed heading into the 2026 season. So that stuff is right around the corner. Like, we are in 2021. So what we would like, you and myself included, is, yes, to get to a point where it sits still for a little bit, but we are so obviously not at that point yet. Like, there is a lot that is going to change in the next 5 years in this sport, and to think that it won't is just pulling the wool over your own eyes, I think, like for these commissioners. I mean, it's just absolutely absurd. So they both mentioned the need to stabilize college athletics. And then finally, there was a brief discussion about the scheduling alliance. And Kevin Warren and George Kliavkoff both mentioned that they may move from 9 conference games down to 8 conference games. Now, for years, the Big Ten and the Pac-12, et cetera, have talked about the ridiculousness of the SEC and the ACC only playing 8-game conference schedules. They've done it forever. And now their own commissioners are saying, wait a minute, we might need to do this. Kliavkoff specifically mentioned that they would do that to create more value for their television partners. ESPN, if they could get the SEC to move to a 10-game conference schedule, would take it in a heartbeat because there is value in that. SEC against SEC, there is value if you have more SEC games.
We just have bigger teams, though, Gary.
Oh,
we
agreed.
just have more schools that pull a bigger draw than these other schools.
You're explaining my
fine.
point.
But like Kliavkoff didn't say those things in the past, okay? About how precious it was for them to make the 9-game schedule. One of the reasons Kliavkoff was probably brought in was because he saw the writing on the wall that we have to change. All right.
Yes.
And Kevin Warren the same thing. And so that doesn't. I'm not going to knock them for this because I actually think they're right. All right.
Oh, I think they're absolutely right. I don't believe that they're wrong.
If Clemson got to play a 9 or 10 game ACC schedule, I'd throw the hell up. All right.
Yeah. Now you're. Yes, I agree. I do agree. And instead, they get South Carolina at the end of every year, which
congratulations.
Used to be a tough game.
You get one of the worst SEC schools, so you can say, look at our record against the SEC. I'd love it when these guys do it, by the way. I love it. I love it when Oklahoma gets the shit kicked out of them by LSU, but they play Tennessee and they play Arkansas and they play a couple of low feeders on the table, and they're like, look at our record against the SEC. We're so great. Like, I don't really know that's how it works out. Have you beaten Auburn? Have you beaten Georgia, Florida? Like any of the decent ones? I'm not even talking about Alabama. All right. Have you beaten any of the other good ones? A&M? Any of them?
Well,
no?
To Oklahoma's credit, they do have a winning record against Alabama.
When was the last time they played Alabama, Gary?
It was the Orange Bowl, but they got whipped in the Orange Bowl a couple of years ago.
Before that, when was the last time they beaten Alabama? Let's say
the Sugar Bowl in 2013. After the 2013 season, I guess it was. So, but it was, it's the Sugar Bowl. It's Alabama had lost to.
It was 15 years ago.
Yeah, it was. Well, no, it was like 8 years ago. But either way, like, still, you remember Trevor Knight? Like that was the night that Trevor Knight went off in the Sugar Bowl. But regardless, I do see exactly where you're coming from. It's the records are ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So after all this gets done, Phillips closes it out by saying, 3 motivated commissioners came together to do the right thing at the right time.
Time.
Is this
and resources.
the right thing at the right time? Is that what this is?
Well, hang on, but they didn't do anything.
It's not even a thing. It's not the right thing or the wrong thing.
I want to know billable hours. I don't know man hours of people on the clock at these 3 conference commissioners' offices. I want to know what it costs them over the last 2 to 3 weeks of talking about this alliance and putting it all together to come up with this dandy of a plan. I would like to know that. Remember back when politicians would be like, somebody would go on like an investigation for like 2 to 3 weeks to try to get the other one in trouble. And then the other one was like, you spent $3 million in 2.5 weeks and we could have saved 400,000 homeless people for that. Like, remember when we used to do that? Like back in that's like old school politics. All right. That was back when we were civil. All right. That was civilized politics in the 90s. Most of you kids would know about this. But no, like this is what, like, I want somebody to be like, y'all spent this much money to have a conversation that ended up in, we're fundamentally not going to change anything.
Yeah. Like, we're going to keep things the same. We might start playing each other more. Like,
maybe.
We don't even know that because they're
But if we can get, if we can get a home game against Texas or Oklahoma or Alabama or LSU or Georgia, then we're going to take that because that's going to draw 8 million viewers.
Yes.
So while we don't like those sons of bitches from the South, we don't want to upset them too bad because if they want to ever do a home and home, it'll be the biggest game we draw in a decade.
Yes. Yes,
if
100%.
USC got a home and home with one of the big boys of the SEC, it would be the biggest draw that USC has had. The Notre Dame USC doesn't draw that. Won't come close to it.
Yes, I do agree with you. Now, clip that segment. We'll move into this other one because it all ends up tying together. George Kliavkoff, after this press conference is done, tells The Athletic that they will announce whether or not they're going to expand by the end of the week. So apparently expansion for the Pac-12 is still an option. He talked to Max Olson, and Max Olson told him, or he said that, Max said, I would be a little surprised if he preaches the importance of stabilizing college athletics and then raids the Big 12 a few days later. That's what Max Olson said.
It would be the most college football move in the world, though.
Kliavkoff
is the one of these three that you should be worried about. This guy was a Vegas business dude. He was not a college commissioner. And these other two dudes that are so green, sleep with one eye open, baby. You'll wake up with a horse head in your bed.
Kliavkoff said, I would say it's been less than 5 weeks since the news of Texas and Oklahoma leaked. It has caused a lot of vibration across the college sports community. I think the best thing that we can do to support the Big 12 is to come to decisions together that dampen that vibration as quickly as possible. Of course, the longer we waited until we announced this alliance, the more details we would have had and the more specific the scheduling. You balance that against wanting to announce it so that we can start to slow down the vibrations, and I think getting this accomplished in 5 weeks, and at least for us, being able to announce a final decision on our expansion within that kind of same 5-week time frame is our effort to try and stabilize what I think Kevin and Jim and I all saw as something that was not good for college athletics. I don't even know what he's saying there.
We're about to take one of those fours home, and we don't want y'all to laugh at us.
So
we don't want our friends. We don't want our friends to make fun of us.
So he does that, and at the same time that all of this is going on, Dave Wannstedt is on the radio, 670 The Score in Chicago, and that it was this morning. He said that he heard the following Big 12 news at the Fox meetings last week in Phoenix. Dave Wannstedt, of course, part of the Fox broadcasts. We all get that. But Fox has their television meetings in Phoenix every year. I think it swaps. I think it switches every year. But either way, they have these big meetings where they talk about and they plan the season. They plan all this stuff and da-da-da-da-da. And he was told Oklahoma State and Kansas State are going to the Pac-12. West Virginia is going to the ACC. And Kansas and Iowa State are both going to the Big Ten. Notice that all of those are members of this alliance. Do you think that there is any what's the term I'm looking for? It's funny to me that they announced this alliance today. People ask about the Big 12. They talk so well about the Big 12 and how important the Big 12 is and those schools and everything, what they mean to college athletics. And while all this is going on, Dave Wannstedt's like, yeah, every one of them conferences is picking somebody off the Big 12.
That's right. That's right. They're all going to take a 4 home, and we don't want, and they want the rest of the country to take them serious after that.
Iowa State to the Big Ten makes a lot of sense to me. Kansas, as far as basketball goes,
all of the moves make sense. By the way, I don't disagree with these conferences doing this. I actually don't disagree with it at all.
No, I don't either.
But
to come out and talk about stabilizing college athletics and then start raiding what's left of the Big 12 right after, I do find it a bit comical.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State and Kansas State to the Pac-12. That could be interesting. We could see some fun games there.
So the two that got left out were Baylor and TCU, right?
Baylor, TCU, and we're missing somebody. Texas Tech.
Texas Tech. So those three are going to end up in the American, guaranteed. Because they're not going to stay by themselves, and why would the American not?
Well, I mean that would boost the American to 14 teams.
If the American was smart, they'd find a couple of bastards to kick out, and they would go get the best of the Sun Belt also, and BYU.
Go get App State. Go get Louisiana.
And Louisiana Coastal. So you find, and then if you can get BYU, you find you get four dummies to say, sorry guys, you got to go.
That'd be smart. That would be smart.
That'd be smart.
Because at that point, then you're back to a Power 5
Now you really, I think that conference would be awesome, by the way. I think that conference would have less weaklings than any other conference if you did that.
Yes, I tend to agree. I tend to agree. This was comical that all of this was going on, this alliance talk, this talk of stable, like-minded individuals, the importance of college athletics, and Dave Wannstedt is dropping knowledge. Like,
how many people can make so much money and be so dumb, Gary? How is it that I can't make that much money? I'm a moron. I'm dumb. I'm not saying I'm not. I'm smarter than all of these people. All of them. Maybe put a couple of them in the room combined, and I got that IQ.
Yeah.
These are idiots. Now, there's no doubt they could quote Shakespeare and quote me legal references out the yin yang that I can't. There's no doubt. Opening books, they're going to be smarter than me. Running businesses, running conferences, I assure you, I can show you P&Ls of how I've done in my little world and what they've done, what I've built and what they've built off of what I had to start with and what they had to start with. And I assure you that I can run circles around all of them.
Well,
all of them.
I will give you Kevin Warren and Jim Phillips. I don't know about Kliavkoff, man.
Oh, well, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. No, but I'll tell you this, him. He's the one shark in the pool, baby.
Oh yeah,
like he's the one shark swimming in this pool.
Yes.
And for the other two to just trust him blindly would not be wise. Just telling you right now.
I still can't get over. We don't need a signed contract. Like
we don't need one. We've got his word that he won't stab us in the back.
Like, what are we talking about?
In a couple of years, Ohio State's going to be in the Pac-12.
Probably. That would be so ridiculous.
Oh, my God. It's going to be spectacular.
The ACC, so people, of course, will ask, why would the ACC only take West Virginia? Well, they don't want to lose that connection with Notre Dame. Like
that's right. Because they are hanging on to lifeblood that one day they'll get Notre Dame, and that will be bigger than Texas or Oklahoma.
Yes. And the way that this sets up,
on with all they have.
This sets up with the ACC having 15 teams, but if you add Notre Dame, that's a 16th because Notre Dame has a contract,
scheduling agreement. They have
an actual signed contract through 2036, where Notre Dame has to play 5 ACC teams every year.
Yes.
A signed deal. So that thing is done. So the ACC, practically 16 teams. The Big Ten, you take Kansas and Iowa State, that moves you to 16 teams. The Pac-12, still sitting there with Oklahoma 14. State and Kansas State. You got 14. Do you maybe go after a BYU? Do you maybe try and figure out something else?
I'm going to tell you, I think all three of these schools, there's a reason they didn't take any of the private schools. I think they want to stay, which both the ACC and the Big Ten already have private schools. But Pac-12 has made it clear that they would like to remain secular.
That makes sense. So maybe
BYU is worse than all the rest of it. When I say to deal with scheduling wise, and the religion that they put forward is far more strict. The other ones operate at no different than public schools. No different than public schools.
Yeah, that tends to make sense.
Because USC is a private school. USC is a private institution, but it's a secular private institution. It's not married to a church.
Yeah, it's not Baylor. It's not TCU.
Yeah, it's not Baylor. It's not TCU. It's not Wake Forest. It's not Northwestern. It's,
Yeah, that's the way it goes. Well, I mean, Northwestern is secular as well. Like, that's not a...
I thought Northwestern was Catholic.
Don't believe so. I think...
we have people that we know that should be able to answer this for us. How did we not know that?
We'll ask them about that. Are you sending it to our group chat now?
Yeah. You want to talk for a minute?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and keep talking. This would be incredibly comical to me if this were to happen. But the idea of 4 16-team leagues is still there, and the AAC could be another one that would move to 16 teams. I don't see this as out of the realm of possibility yet. I don't believe that we are going to have stability just yet. Do I think that they're going to announce who they're taking by the end of this week? No. I think that the Pac-12 is going to announce that they are going to look at expanding, that they are planning to expand, and then they'll draw this thing out for a little while and announce something at the end of the season because announcing right before this season, I think, might be in not everybody's best interest. So we'll see what happens with it, obviously, but that's the way it goes. So you get any answers back?
No, that's all right though. We'll get one. We'll let it.
We'll rehash it on the show on Friday, so it'll be all good. I did want to hit on two other topics right quick. Auburn head coach Bryan Harsin tested positive for COVID, which, grand scheme of things is not a huge deal. We don't know if he's vaccinated or not. He has not said, but the media, we haven't talked much about this, but the media in Alabama has absolutely gone after him about everything, really, but also a lot on this COVID stuff. There was an entire article written about the failures of Bryan Harsin at Auburn. The man hadn't even coached a game yet. Like, it's unreal how hard they are on this guy, and he got hired in the middle of a pandemic. Like, what are we talking about? But now he has to quarantine for like 2 weeks. He has to miss 2 weeks of fall camp. Can't even be around his team, like gearing up for the first game of the season. We don't know what his health status is. I think he's fine. Otherwise, they would have said something. Like, we would have gotten a report about that. But he has not come out and told anybody to go get vaccinated. He has not told anybody to not give it, like, nothing. And I'm totally okay with that. I think that is what the majority of people should be doing. But there are a ton of people that believe that as the second highest paid state employee in the state of Alabama, that you should have a role in fixing what is going on there, because the vaccination rate in Alabama is the lowest in the country. It is really, really bad. But it hasn't made a difference that Nick Saban has been out there preaching to go and get the vaccine. Like, there hasn't been much of a difference made from college football coaches.
Trump this weekend was in Alabama and told people to get vaccine. In Alabama, Trump people booed him.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
This is not. There's nothing Bryan Harsin can say or do to change this. I've got an opinion on this, by the way. I've got a well-informed opinion on this. So I still have a lot of family in Huntsville, in Gunnersville, in Arab, in Auburn country. Okay. And I'm going to do this, and this is the truth, Gary, and you might not want to hear this because you got those maroon colored glasses on, but 90% of all media is marketed and paid for by Alabama alumni and Alabama fans and Alabama boosters. 90%. Auburn has such a small footprint in their state of the media advertising dollars that this is Alabama media. They are searching out things to criticize this man about. And we don't know what he has told his team. He is not a public figure or a public person in the state of Alabama yet, because he hasn't done anything to be public but get a job. All right. So before you can go out and start marching orders and telling your fans what to do, you need to earn their respect and you need to earn the right to be heard. I believe that. With all I have. Okay. So him saying nothing doesn't bother me, for the sheer fact that I assume he's telling his players to get vaccinated because it's better for his team and his football. It's literally better for them. It's not a political thing. It's better for him and the University of Auburn. But for him to tell these fans he's been there for 5 minutes, that would be like me moving up to Washington and telling the people of Seattle how to live their life. Regardless of what the national media believes is right or wrong, regardless of what the majority of people believe are right or wrong, they have no reason to listen to me. Yeah. State of Alabama people have no reason to listen to Bryan Harsin. This is 100% Alabama, University of Alabama, political bullshit going after Auburn. That's just it. That's all this is.
Last month at SEC Media Days, Harsin said the team's roster vaccination was around 60%, and saying that number had improved. They are behind Ole Miss, who is obviously at 100%. Alabama is almost at 100%. LSU, Texas A&M, and Arkansas. Auburn falls way back there on that. But neither here nor there. What you were saying, I don't believe is incorrect at all. I think you are absolutely right about the media dollars in the state of Alabama. However, the guy that has been writing these scathing articles is a guy named Joseph Goodman, and he hates Alabama with everything in his being. Like, he is not from the state of Alabama, he does not like Alabama or Auburn. But
okay,
but that's where I'm coming from on this. Is he is going after these coaches, and he. Is
but I
really
assure you that every article he writes that is negative for Auburn, he makes more money, regardless of what he does on his own time. I guarantee you, his marketing dollars go up when he writes bad articles about Auburn as opposed to bad articles about Alabama.
You might be right. You might be right about that.
I'm 100% right on that.
I would hope that would not sway why he would.
A journalist? You don't think journalists do that?
I wish that there were.
You ever watched the media in the last 6 years?
I wish that there were still some out there, but there was an article or in whatever it is. It's a letter to the editor from yesterday that said "Party on" is AU's philosophy for dealing with COVID-19. So I can't even get into all the different stuff on this, but. It is hilarious.
But my response is Bryan Harsin has been there for 5 minutes. He is not the person to be speaking out about that. Is anybody yelling at Bruce Pearl? Is anybody writing scathing articles about him? A man who's been there for 4 or 5 years?
I don't believe so.
Who's developed a relationship with these fans? Who has a voice in the community? Anybody going to talk about that?
The reason I wanted to bring this up is Derek Mason came out and he just went on his social media account. Yeah. And he said, as some of you have heard, I recently developed and battled a breakthrough case of COVID. Thankfully, I've recovered, and I'm looking forward to returning to the field as we continue to prepare for the upcoming season. Having lost 2 family members to COVID last year, as well as the father of a daughter who is immunocompromised, I understand why I made the decision to vaccinate. I can only speak for my own decision, but for those of you who are on the fence, I encourage you to look at your why and consider protecting yourself, your loved ones, and the healthcare workers who are working so tirelessly to save lives. I'm thankful I did. I wish our country, and specifically the entire Auburn community, a safe, healthy, and successful football season. Do you think that this is just Mason coming out and saying, look, I don't care whether Auburn wants me to speak on this or not, I'm going to say something? Or is this Mason maybe somewhat helping set himself up for whatever his next gig would be?
No, I think this is the first thing. I think Derek Mason's a man of principle, and Derek Mason ain't trying to set himself up for anything. You ask him a question, he's going to tell you an honest answer, whether you like it or not. I think there's a reason guys like Derek Mason get thrown the Vanderbilt job and not the head coach, football coach of some of these other bigger schools. And it's not because he's not good enough of a head coach. It's because what you have to do in selling your morals to play at the highest level of college football, some of these coaches, some of these men are not willing to do.
Yeah.
I believe that. And now I could be completely wrong. I could be completely naive, but I believe that.
I tend to agree with you. I don't think like it initially looked like, okay, so everybody's bashing on Harsin for not coming out and saying anything. So now Derek Mason's going to come out and say something. I think it's just important to him.
Like, whoa. You're speaking out of both sides of your mouth here. Everybody's bashing on him, or this one guy's bashing on him?
No,
there's one writer.
There's a lot.
So you can't use the one writer as not affiliated with Alabama and bashing on him when if everybody's doing it, this is 100% coming out of Tuscaloosa. And the whole thing that you said is right, though. If Nick Saban and the University of Alabama, which controls 90% of that state, okay, well, maybe 90 is too much, but at least 80. I guarantee you they don't have more than that. All right, 80% of that state, and that's not putting a dent in it. When these people's Lord and Savior, Donald Trump, comes to town and he tells them it and they boo him, there's nothing Bryan Harsin could say, so he doesn't need to be the speaker for this. Like, you can't kill a man for something when there's nothing you can do to force these people to do what they're not going to want to do.
I'm not killing him for it. I agree with you. I don't believe that it is his place. I don't think it was Nick Saban's place to tell anybody what to do. But that's just how you and I believe, feel about this.
But they obviously don't care what these people think. Like I said, these people worship Trump. They worship Saban. They worship these guys. And if they, I'm telling you, if they told them to slaughter their firstborn, they'd consider doing it. But they're not going to take the vaccine, and they're going to boo them when they tell them to do it.
Yeah. And so with Harsin, like it's neither here nor there. It's that there has been backlash over the fact that Harsin has not said anything, and then Mason comes out and actually says something my first instinct
doesn't bother me. No, that's Derek Mason's his own man. Derek Mason. Yes. I would tell you this: there's a world where Bryan Harsin has been specifically instructed by his employers that we're not going to talk about this. You can preach to your students that you are over, advise them on what they should do, but you don't go out into the public and tell them how to live their life. We don't know that his bosses didn't tell him that. Okay.
Agree.
But I'm going to tell you this: Derek Mason doesn't care if he's been told that or not, or has probably not been told that, but either irrelevant because he's a DC. I just think he's his own man. I don't think he's trying to wiggle his way out or set himself up for a better gig later. I think if he gets a better gig somewhere else later, it'll be strictly on his own merit. I think it will be because he's the man that he is.
I tend to agree with you. I tend to agree.
That's my opinion. But I don't know the man. I don't know anything about him. I just get to watch him on TV. I watched him go through those awful, awful years at Vanderbilt when they weren't good. And I remember when he did win, I remember things that he said that he thought were important, and they resonated with me, and they stuck with me. And so I trust him and I believe him.
I can understand that. We'll close out with the New England Patriots.
Oh, I want to tell you this. Northwestern was founded on a Methodist background.
Methodist background. Interesting.
Yeah. Their nicknames before they became the Wildcats were the Fighting Methodist, which is very funny that you're a fighting man of the
Methodist. Cloth. Yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Okay.
I'm okay with it, though. I'm not.
Oh, same here. Same here.
The Fighting Friars are the best mascot in baseball.
All right, I can get down with that. Closing out, the New England Patriots allowed Cam Newton to leave camp to go get a medical procedure done elsewhere, and apparently there was a misunderstanding of the league's COVID-19 protocols, and that has caused Cam Newton to have to miss 5 days of training camp, 5 days of practice leading into the final preseason game. And, he's in a bit of a, a bit of a quarterback battle with Mac Jones. Jones has played really well in the preseason. We know that the preseason doesn't necessarily mean anything, but this is a bad time to be missing time, especially with how Cam missed the end of last season. Now, this pretty much validates Cam Newton has not gone to get vaccinated. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that because he had COVID before. So, whatever. Outside of that, the league's rules stated that if you leave the facility for a medical procedure or whatever, that even if you get tested the whole time that you're away, if you're not being tested by, like a team doctor or something like that, then basically the tests don't count and you have to quarantine for 5 days before you're allowed back in the facility? Is that how this works? So
he left, he had the approval, and he tested himself every day, or was tested every day he was gone. And he's come up negative every time. But because they specifically didn't do the test, which I'm not sure how they do it, like, are you going to send somebody with him to, follow him every day?
I have no idea how that would work.
I don't know how that would work either.
So I hadn't been able to figure this out because at first it was, okay, so Newton messed up. And then it was like, no, the Patriots messed up. But now it's like now I don't know who it is. The article,
NFL rules are insane right now.
The CBS article says Patriots frustrated internally with the Cam Newton misunderstanding of COVID protocols per report. But I don't know if that means that the Patriots are upset with themselves.
No, they're upset with the league. That he was approved by the league to go get this procedure. Everyone knew where he was going and what he was going to be doing while he got there. They knew that he was going to be tested the entire time. This was the agreement that the Patriots and Cam thought they had agreed upon, that everybody was okay with. When he gets back, the league steps in and says, whoa. This is not what we agreed upon. Sorry. The rules are too confusing and they're too complicated. It shouldn't be this complicated. And I know that there's a side of the aisle that's going to say it's not that complicated. If you're not vaccinated, we don't want you in the building. That's fine. Those people are unreasonable, and we can't have this conversation. We can't function in society that way because there's too many people that are choosing not to be vaccinated. Yeah. And I'm not willing to just cut off life with that many people in the world of society. I think we need everybody as a whole to function as a group of people for our country to be successful. So he has nothing but negative tests.
Yeah.
And he's now back with team doctors, and they're giving him constant negative tests. And he was in controlled atmospheres the entire time that he was gone. And when he came back.
This was not Dwayne Haskins going to the strip club after a game.
Or whatever the NBA player was that left the basketball arena for a funeral and then went to the strip club for some wings.
Yes.
This is not that. He followed every rule that he thought was in place. The Patriots thought everything was good. Everything was right. This is a problem with the league. The league is making things way too complicated. And in my opinion, far too strict. Far too strict. Some of these rules are just ridiculous.
Pat McAfee had his conspiracy horns up, right? And his thought process was Bill Belichick and that organization are the best run. They know every rule inside and out. They know everything. Do we think that they okayed this for Cam to leave so that they could get more time with Mac with the ones?
No,
I don't think so either.
Let me tell you what that is. I know McAfee's your boy and you love that guy and all, but McAfee spent his entire career getting his ass whooped by Bill Belichick.
Yes,
okay,
he did.
So that is sour grapes all day long.
I don't think it's sour grapes. I think it's
100% sour grapes.
No, it's just a conspiracy theory. Like that's all it is, and it ain't worth nothing.
Because let me tell you something. If there's one coach in the league that doesn't need an excuse to put the other guy in and bench the first guy, it's Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick doesn't care. He doesn't care about Cam Newton's feelings. He doesn't care about any of those players' feelings or stepping on toes. If he thinks the other guy is going to get him the best shot to win, that's what he's going to do.
Do you think that this could have something to do with the locker room?
No. I'd zero. We've heard no problems out of that locker room.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, could this be because the locker room loves Cam so much that this was the way to kind of get Mac more reps with the ones?
Once again, everybody that puts on that Patriot uniform understands what happens when they sign with the Patriots. This ain't the Jets. This ain't the Colts. This ain't anybody else in the league. You're coming to work for Bill fucking Belichick.
Yep.
All right. And when you come in here, I do not care about your feelings. I'm going to do what's best for this team. I expect you to do what's best for this team. And if that embarrasses you, or if I have to bench your friend, then so be it. Tell your friend to get better. Stay after and work with him and make him better.
Yeah.
But we are going forward with the best player. And if Cam Newton starts, it's because Bill believes he's the best quarterback for the job for that day. If Mac starts, it's because he believes Mac gives him the best chance to win that day. That's it. End of story. Bill will play games with the media. Bill will play games with the opponents. Bill will play games with the refs. Bill will play games with the leagues. Bill does not fuck around with his locker room, with his coaching staff, with his teammates.
This is exactly why I wanted to bring this up with you. 100%. Because I know that I will get a true answer.
And go find anybody that's worn that Patriot uniform, and not a lifer. I'm not talking about go find Teddy Bruschi, okay? Go or Mike Vrabel, all right? I'm talking about go talk to Jesus. He goes on the Ryan Russillo show all the time. He was with the Patriots for like a weekend and won a Super Bowl. Then went with the Eagles. Anyway,
Chris Long,
that's it. Jesus Christ, I was trying to think of Howie Long's son. Go ask Chris Long. And Chris Long will tell you, when you walk in that locker room, you all agree it's different here. It's different. He had more fun playing with his other teams than with the Patriots. But when he agreed to go there, he understood, I'm agreeing to work in a different environment than I've ever worked in. I'm agreeing to come to somewhere where I don't get the say that I used to have. And it's not because of my abilities. Nobody gives a shit about my leadership. When there's a clip going around Twitter right now of James Harrison talking about when he got there, like he was like getting ready in the locker room and he saw Tom Brady hauling ass down a hallway running late for a meeting. And he was like, oh shit, I thought if Tom's running, I better run. And he stopped getting ready and just half dressed, took off to the meeting, realized they're 4 or 5 minutes early. Like he still had plenty of time to finish getting dressed.
Yeah.
And he was just like, that's the philosophy here. Like he was like, I don't know what happens if you're late for a meeting because nobody's late for meetings. Like, we just don't have that problem. Nobody's ever been late while he was there. And it's just things are done differently. And so I assure you, no games are being played inside that locker room. Lots of head games outside of the locker room, 0 head games inside the locker room. They don't screw around.
Yeah. So no conspiracy, no nothing. This was really a
The only conspiracies are going to come out are from people who have been burned by the Patriots organization and Bill Belichick their entire career, whether it be media or on the field. Makes those guys cry. They try to pick on him afterwards.
It does make sense. It does make sense. All right. Is there anything else that we need to hit on today?
Nope, that's it, brother.
That is it. All right, on Friday's show, we're going to knock out the AFC South. We'll go ahead and get that wrapped up. Just a lot to talk about today with the Alliance and everything else that's going on. So let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. Go to winningcureseverything.com. That is the site. It's got everything you need to know about us. Go to BetUS.com, where the game begins. Use the promo code. It's down in the description. You can click the link right there. Very easy. It is NCAAF 2021. That is the promo code. You get a 125% deposit bonus. And I'm telling you, they've got everything you could possibly want to bet on. I'm telling you, everything. Team totals for the game, first quarter lines, first half, all of it. Go ahead and check it out. BetUS.com, where the game begins. And again, Chris and I both are hosting college football shows this season. Make sure and subscribe to both of them. The link is in the description. Chris has got the SBR show. I have got the BetUS show. So do us a favor, help build those channels up. And yeah, I think that's going to be it. Chris, this was fun. This was a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and dive out. You guys take care of yourself, take care of each other, and hopefully all of your tickets cash this week. Thanks for checking out Winning Cures Everything. If you want to keep up with us, hit subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Visit the website at winningcureseverything.com, or you can like us on Facebook or follow us at Winning Cures, at Gary WCE, or at Chris B. Giannini on Twitter. Share out the show, leave a nice